Call the meeting to order. Join me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Marcy, can I get a roll call? Here.
Lexi, here. Justin,
Here.
John, here. Deb.
Here. Get a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second. Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
John, I.
Jeff, I.
At this time, I will open it up for citizen comment on anything that is on the agenda. If you have something to say, you can come up and give your name and address to the podium there.
Thanks, guys.
Hi.
I'm Greg Ramler.
Ashley Ramler. We live at 399 Solomia Court. And regarding the golf cart ordinance, I know there's talk of wanting to prohibit golf carts altogether, but we were just hoping that maybe we could come to some sort of compromise and maybe there be limited golf carts within the city, however you guys see fit, just maybe to and from the golf course strictly to limit, people out driving around just leisurely, but still giving access to those who are members and who do want to utilize that.
Interact.
Yeah, well, I'm going to.
Okay. Go ahead.
You guys get to talk or the judge?
Yeah. I know we spoke just a couple hours ago.
Yes.
But I like the idea that if we could come up with a to and from, it would be something I'd consider. However, we talked that I'm not for it on Peosta Street or Burns,
Right.
Cox Springs.
Right.
To be determined on Ileana, depending on how busy that gets.
Right.
Which then, even if we were to get to Cox Springs, we're only allowing it for one minute part of the city. And there's, in my opinion, I don't feel it's safe on Peosta Street, which is gonna exclude Royal Oaks, Gingerbread, everything up there.
And am I allowed to talk? And I see that point, and I had looked into Asbury's ordinance, and they do have very limited usage in Asbury. Only a list of maybe 10 streets where they are allowed to drive. So in Asbury, they've kind of made it work in their city where, not everybody can drive the golf carts, but they do still have the option for those streets.
Actually, a question on that. I have not looked at Asbury's ordinance, but as you understand it, is it the people that live in Wedgwood and so they can get to the golf course and back?
Truthfully, I didn't look at where the streets were located. I looked at the names, and to even remember all those names, I don't. But
Okay.
yeah, I did not look where they were actually located. But it was a list of about 10 streets.
Kevin?
My knowledge, it's Wedgwood.
It's
Yeah.
Wedgwood. It kind of makes sense. So as I understood from a recent dialogue with the chief, the state law that's in place disallows traveling on primary or secondary roads or whatever and for our purposes, that's Peosta Street, it's Cox Springs, it's Thunder Hills Road. And so when you think about it, and so golf carts can go by state law, can go across those roads, but they have to go directly across. They can't drive on those roads.
Right.
It's like when you think about how we're set up, anybody in Royal Oaks couldn't get to the golf course without being on Peosta Street.
Right.
Anybody anywhere east of that couldn't get there without being on Cox Springs, which is under state law, isn't even allowed. So it kind of hamstrings a little bit of our discussion.
That includes Thunder Hills, then you said?
That's not.
Well,
state law though.
So Thunder Hills are saying, what, you can cross,
Cross.
You can't.
you can only cross. So if you wanted to go down to Juliana and go up Thunder Hills, you could not do that.
With a golf cart.
You can't be on those roads. You have to
Yeah,
go
you can only
across those
cross.
roads.
There has to be a direct connection across.
Yep.
So here we've got this, the way we're geographically set up really kind of hamstrings what we could do. I did want to make sure that we talked about a little bit tonight, if there was a plausible way to do it, which maybe by state law there's not. The idea of the only exception use being adults, and maybe we set it 21 and over. Golf carts have to be tricked out with slow moving vehicle and whatnot, sunrise to sunset, directly to and from the golf course by the most direct route. One of the challenges we've got is how do you police the most direct route? People go to Casey's first and then they go over and whatever, and all of a sudden, and I know Mike and his guys do not want to be the police people for golf carts or lawnmowers or any of the other things. So we're kind of hamstrung by how Peosta is built.
Mhm.
And it doesn't, this ordinance wouldn't apply to the homeowner subdivisions like Birds and Thunder Ridge and Thunder Hills. Those are obviously not in the city and they're part of the homeowner. I did have one more question for you though. So is there not adequate provision at the country club for people to park their carts there?
No, there's not.
And your members, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Is there any discussion about, among the members about solving that problem for the members of the club?
No, they said that they might not even be letting it, they're not letting any new members,
Park
I
in the
guess,
garage.
rent any,
I
yeah.
think, maybe they're totally full though, or if not, full already, close to being.
And while I empathize that with members of the country club's not in the city limits. It's hard for us to solve that problem for them. So I certainly empathize with the situation, but to me, that would be a way to solve it, as if the country club solved it for its members.
Right,
And then you're not hamstrung by not being able to use your golf cart.
Yeah.
Enjoy the club and all that. And while the golf course is not in the city of Peosta, it is an amenity to like greater Peosta. And I know that's part of the reason some people are here. So
yeah, and
acknowledge
there's
that.
really nowhere, no people who are coming out here and who are current members and, members that do live in Dubuque but want to be out here. There's really nowhere else for them to go other than the city. Birds is full, Thunder's full. So that's another thing where
the
people.
city fills up as soon as something opens up.
Yeah.
And it sells.
Yeah, so it would be helpful to people who do want to move out here and who, do already live out here but are in city and are members, if they could continue to drive over there.
I mean, it's not really, you can't really cut across, I mean, you kind
Come
of
across.
at an angle, I mean, they're moving the road over, so you could hop on 7, you don't have to drive all the way up.
But you're allowed to
Uh,
you can cut
but I
across
mean,
Thunder
it's not
Hills.
straight across, I mean, you gotta go at a little bit of an angle, but.
Cut across Thunder Hills from Birds Acres,
Oh, okay,
right? But you can, if you
But
came up,
however, if you were to go all the way down to the end, I believe it's Skylark, that's out in the county, that road stops and then it's a private drive that would connect into a farm. I believe it's the Birds Farm, I believe is what it
Yep.
is. And there's no way to access from Cox Springs, private drive.
Or on this side.
Correct. Yeah, there's just no way to access it because it's private.
So right now, as it says, if we were to do something, legally, they would not be able to drive from Juliana to Thunder.
up Thunder Hills to
Correct.
Thunder, yeah.
Would they be able to drive from Juliana to 17, which is the T box right on the.
It's directly across from the road. There's no outlet across the road. I think it goes right into a cornfield or a hayfield.
It has to be at 90 degrees.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a direct route right across the road. Yes, per state law.
And that's state law, so. Have any other comments?
Good.
No.
okay.
Thanks
Thank
for,
you.
thanks for
Thank
your,
you.
thanks for your engagement on this issue.
Thank you.
Ask a couple more questions. I just wanted to ask a couple more questions. Diane Moore, 16. So regarding the golf carts, if the club would connect to, what is that, hole 17?
7.
If they would make some kind of connection from that hole,
Can't, because if you drive straight out, it's the cornfield.
Here in Edwards is
It'd be in somebody's private.
somebody else's private
Yeah, it'd
property?
be in somebody's private property.
that Jim's. Yep, Jim owns that fence line, right?
No, it's Edwards. No, it's Edwards.
Yeah,
over on
Edwards.
that.
Yeah.
Has the city ever asked Birds who own the farm if they would consider is there any consideration to do some kind of golf cart path? I know trails are no
Problem, I
common
think
thing.
with that, Diane, I think it's because it's private, so it would fall down to their liability. If something were to happen, if somebody were to come through their property with golf, they're more than welcome to do that if they want to. If they allow golf carts on their property, there's nothing stopping them for that. However, I mean, legality wise, they're putting a lot on themselves. You know what I'm saying? Because it's their problem.
If they would, my sister-in-law knows them really well, so if they would designate a strip of land and give it to the city to create a path, would that be
It's not the city,
acceptable?
it's not the city limits.
It's,
Oh, it's not in the
yeah,
city limit.
that's not city limits over in Drexel County. On that side is county.
And it's a plausible idea. I mean, the answer is no. Nobody's talked with them about that because, I haven't really understood this golf course issue in the last week when I've heard from more people. Even if we did that as a plausible issue, given the other state law requirements for Cox Springs and Peosta Street, we're really only opening access to one other neighborhood. It's like the Juliana, your Solomina, that whole area.
Wouldn't even be access to that.
Yeah, the rest of the city can't, because they would still,
Have to get on Cox Springs.
they still have to get it in Cox Springs. So there's some things that we can't really solve. It's an interesting dilemma.
Yeah. I mean, I think just because we're a golfing community, let's just face it, we are. It just seems so ironic we can't get to it. That's, anyway,
I wouldn't say we're a golfing community. I mean, I love golf next, but we're not, it's not like it's a city-owned golf course that everybody can
Right.
access. I mean, it's a private country club.
right,
Everybody can access, so.
yeah, but I think that's what helps our per household
It is. a
home,
benefit.
uh,
I'm not saying that.
values
No
and,
question.
I mean,
like
it
the
definitely
course.
draws people out here. So I don't know how you would phrase it then if it's not a golfing community.
I'd encourage the members of the country club to think about how they solve the storage problem for themselves.
I agree.
We do have limitations on how the streets are constructed here that kind of tie our hands.
If they would come up with some kind of solution, would the council revisit
Well,
the
people
issue
park their
and?
golf carts there.
It's still state law. That's.
Still state law. Roads, Thunder Hills, Cox Springs, Peosta Street, it's still state law.
Not the county.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Is she vacation? Thanks, guys.
Get a motion to, if there's no questions on the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I have a handful, sorry.
All right, that's.
Didn't read it soon enough to get this to the right staff. On the regular meeting minutes for July 22, Marcy, if you look in there, it's right after the motion to open the public hearing for Mississippi Valley. Then I think we just copied and pasted. It looks like we closed the ordinance on traffic regulations and whatnot. It's on page 2. So after we open the hearing for MVEC, we need to close the hearing for MVEC and then approve the first reading of the MVEC franchise fee ordinance. So that's just a administrative correction. On the goal setting meeting, I think it cites that Mr. Buxton was here and I don't believe that he was here.
I corrected it since.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, Jeff.
You were here in spirit.
Yes. I was here the next day.
You were.
Sorry, I made better notes. So in the document that is the Board of Adjustment meeting, July 1st. I don't know who does those minutes. It says that they approved. It says motion to approve Z Little requested by Blosh. Am I just assuming that they approved the variance that Blosh at 8399 Birds had requested?
They
Is that-
didn't approve it.
They didn't.
Correct.
So it just reads motion to approve, Z Little requested, seconded, all ayes, motion carried. It's unclear.
Okay,
So it was turned down, the variance request was turned down,
that is correct.
if I understand it correctly.
Yes.
Thank you. That's it.
We had any issues, chief, with Dollar General and their liquor license? No. Oh,
When I see the liquor license request by Mixteca LLC, it says August 20. Do we have an open date for them?
Get closer.
But if they're getting ready to sell margaritas, we're getting closer. I mean, cause I was gonna be there on August 21. We're gonna be out of the,
I'll be in line with you.
I'm in full support of Mixteca's liquor license request.
We haven't heard anything about a soft opening. We haven't been invited yet, so.
A ribbon cutting.
They're spending money and we'll do a ribbon cutting and a margarita
I
toast.
did drive by and they were placing tables,
Yeah.
so.
We're getting closer.
Wes told me mid-August, so, which is
That's now.
like today.
That's
So,
today.
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Anyone else?
Further questions?
You get a motion to approve the consent changes.
I'll make a motion with the consent agenda with the changes.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Yeah.
Justin and I.
Shut up.
Jeff, I.
Brings us to staff Parks and Recs monthly report.
You guys have any questions first? I have a couple additions, but.
See that you got a nice quote on the gym flooring.
Yeah, it was definitely, I have been trying for years to get a quote, so to actually have a quote, we had no idea.
Did we just get one quote?
Yes, and that's all I'm gonna get. I've talked to so many companies, to try to give me a quote to do it. The same company that did the test spot,
Okay,
that now feels comfortable doing it. Is the
Everything's
only
looking good.
reason. What?
Everything's looking good in that test.
Everything's looking good, minus the color we don't like. So I have new not test, but sample colors, to pick it out. I hate that job. It's my least favorite. So I'm gonna ask a bunch of people. So if you guys are ever hanging out downstairs, want to take a gander, let me know. But yeah, so that was the only thing I don't like is the color we chose, but otherwise, yes, it's holding up.
has all the rain affected the semi-pro tournament? Was supposed to- Are they rescheduling games or?
Yeah,
what are
so
they handling?
Sunday, Monday got canceled. They're doing 3 instead of 2. And I don't have the rest of, I think they're just gonna kind of, I'm interested to see how 3 games tonight goes, how late it goes. First game,
Start at 6.
it's 5:30 is what it's starting tonight now. It's supposed to be 6:30. They're doing 5:37 and 8:30, but I don't believe any of those will start on time. Yes, that's my guess.
Okay.
So the lights will be on late tonight. But yeah, so they're supposed to have off Thursday as a rain date. I'm guessing they'll play Thursday and then it'll get adjusted from there. So,
Okay.
but yes, it has. So additions, the last month we talked about getting the caulk for the outside of the building where it was leaking up on the track. They're finally coming next week on the 18th. They've been busy. They're just finishing up a job, so they'll be here to do that. With all the rain, we haven't had a ton of leaks. There was one, the door leaked really bad Saturday night with all the rain that we got, in the weight room. It came in,
Door.
yeah. And then there's a couple other like little spots. I think there's one in the upstairs bathroom I need to look at and figure out. But compared to how much rain we got, it's actually pretty good. And then I attached a quote on there too. We're looking at purchasing another set of dumbbells. I think last year is when we got the other new set of dumbbells as a second set. The ones that are currently there are in rough shape, and the plan was always to get a second set. It was just making sure that they liked the brand. You don't like the brand?
Go back to the other.
Hold up.
Other ones are, I don't know.
You're the first person that I've heard say that.
Really?
Yeah, everyone else has really liked them. Not the people you talked to. Anyway, the point of this one was to just tell you the cost. The costs remain the same with the exception of my plan was to get the same ones, we'll talk later, with the logo and such again. Just kind of wanted to make you guys aware of when I'm
Yeah.
looking at stuff, there's gonna have additional costs. So tariffs that are not going bad all.
I read that right, that the lead time is 22 to 26 weeks.
Correct.
Yeah, where are they coming from?
China.
I'm surprised the tariff surcharge is only 11%.
I know.
Oh, it's a higher tariff.
So that's right now.
22.
Correct. So yeah. Other than
I
that,
asked
don't
Stacy to talk about that because of the tariff on there. This is well, approval authorization, but I think it's important that we start looking at some of these other costs that are coming up. I mean, the tariffs.
we've never had to pay before.
Right.
So, and yeah, and as far as the quote that you guys will have to when we actually do the floor, I'm not ready yet. I wanna figure out some other things first before I bring that to you guys. So I'm not looking for any type of approval yet. Yes, my AI machine might be trying to go in there.
This
You
might be a
missed
silly
my aim.
question that I don't know is,
Yes.
is there nothing stateside that we could get?
There's not. I asked him. He has 0 US manufacturers. I actually Googled it to see if there were any dumbbell manufacturers within the
Same.
United States, and it came up blank. There was none. Blew my mind actually. Yeah. So yeah, and I was asking me the same question, and I was like, I guess I just make assumptions. That's me being, yes, naive.
Because I knew John Kraft was gonna ask that question,
What question?
Yeah.
if we could get any stateside.
Yeah, let's buy local.
$500.
100%. So. But
If I was an athletic equipment company, I'd start a dumbbell line.
had that conversation already downstairs ironically.
Thinking of guys I know that can do it.
Right? So. But yeah, that's all.
Well, you got.
Thanks, Stacy. Thank you. Chief?
Yeah, I'd like to say you have my report, but it doesn't look.
Yes.
It's on there. So I got a couple of things I just wanted to pass on, just like I told you, at the work session. Gas Day is coming up. I figured you were gonna touch on that a little bit, but don't worry about that. I'll take care of that. 21st is around Thursday. That's at the park. Shouldn't need any traffic control, correct? Everything should run smooth there. How many kids you got signed up for that? Okay.
A ton.
Okay.
It will be.
Okay, parking. And then the parade, I just want to bring up 2:30 lineup, 3:30 is the start time. Just asking you guys permission. You're good with us blocking the roads, doing all that stuff, what we have to do to make this magic happen?
Parade route, right?
Yeah, it's the normal parade route, yep. Down the street to Birds, correct? And then down to Bryn and then circle back up. Yep. Yep, and then the event following afterwards. The other thing I think I told you about, school starts August. Monitor the area, in the morning, night, and I'm gonna put out something on Facebook and the newsletter, just specifying watch out the crosswalks and parking issues. So we'll take care of that. Other than that, I'll try to get you guys the reports by email or somehow I'll get them to you tomorrow.
Questions for Chief?
You were gonna do something at the Peosta Days.
Yes, correct. Yep. And actually that's called the hot car display. Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. Yeah, just like I talked about at the work session. Yep. It's basically a display board. We're just gonna have a squad car, a car parked there. It hooks up to a generator, basically just plugs in. Basically, it's a display sign that shows the how hot the air temperature outside is, and then what the temperature inside the vehicle is. It's just a nice community, and show, don't leave things, people, dogs in the vehicles when it's hot out. And hopefully, I think the weather's showing so far 80s. So you'll be able to see air temp, and then you'll see what the temperature is inside the car, which will be significantly more. And it's just an educational piece. Yep.
Dean?
Questions, concerns on anything of the items?
My only question I want to understand, so on the Peosta Street North construction issue with the curbing.
Yep.
So our solution is we're gonna paint that area. When you say hash in, we're gonna paint that area yellow and extend a yellow painted crosswalk.
So yeah,
To the-
temporarily, at this point in time, that's about all we can do with this until we close out the project and the state signs off on it. ADA ramps are all compliant. We technically can't do no more than that. Near future, I guess I would like to see an extension to Royal Oaks. But temporarily, that's about the only solution that I could come up with, was to hash that radius.
So that painted hash out, that meets ADA compliance? I mean,
Doesn't necessarily, I can't say that it does or doesn't, but at this point in time, that's about all we got to get
yes,
kids from. It does, Steve?
ADA doesn't dictate that. They just
okay,
dictate-
it's a silent.
It's outside of that.
So the slope of the sidewalk entering the street is okay.
That's what dictates it. We meet that.
That's
Getting pedestrians that 25 feet from point A to point B is the part that we can't connect right now. It'll jeopardize your funding once the projects, as Dean said, once the projects close out, you guys can do some other thing.
And we're not technically putting it as a pedestrian entrance. All we're gonna do is hash it out to keep motorists from driving on that radius portion of it.
And this is on the corner of,
So that one in
Well,
particular is on
right.
Peosta Drive and Peosta Street.
down into Peosta Street.
Right here. Where that house.
Correct.
Yeah.
Everything,
We have a lot of concerns.
everything's out there is compliant, basically to meet the needs of your funding, get the funding closed out. You can do additional things after that's closed.
Steve backed me on this. This was a major concern of mine when the original route brought to my attention. It was a major concern of mine that we're bringing all this, pedestrian traffic across Peosta Street. But the only solution that they had to make it compliant.
Does that mean like future things that we could do, we have to restructure that part of the street ourselves? Extend the sidewalk, rebuild the curb.
Basically,
All
on
that stuff.
89, yeah, I mean, right
Okay.
now, everything you did, you got 80% of it.
Yeah,
You had to kind of meet their requirements. Once that's closed out, and you have your reimbursement, you can do what you need to do with that.
I just think it's a huge concern. We're gonna have to come back to it because I just don't think that's. It's a disaster from a safety standpoint.
And what about the,
Also, Dean and I both talked about this, what we couldn't do, and, you know, your hands are tied, it's a couple $100,000 decision in your favor, so it's like, okay, we'll make the sacrifice, we'll put it on.
Oh, yeah.
You know, take money.
Yeah, we'll fix it later after. Okay,
and then the one on Deerwood, is that Deerwood?
That basically is the same situation. The concern there is Deerwood West, such an incline coming into that the cross slope would be. Excuse me, too steep.
Yeah, so it goes right out into traffic right now. And so does the one on the opposite, on the other end, right? The one in front of Willis, does that one goes out to the street too?
So coming from the south, heading north, from yes, in front of Willis is there, you have to cross Peosta Street.
Yeah.
Then cross Deerwood on the east side. And then come back
Cross
across
back.
Peosta Street to get on the west side of it.
Without being on the street, without being like in traffic. Yeah, I walked Mabel to the park on Monday and I was like, dude. I was like, what a adventure. So maybe do we have plans to put a pedestrian crosswalk, just temporarily paint it or?
Well, again, I believe we have to wait until the project's closed
Yeah,
out and they're signed off.
You need enough time, Lexi, between what Annette called pennies from hell. Okay, we got this grant, we have to comply, once that thought closed out. Not to say that we have to undo what's there, but then we can add things that perhaps make sense.
Yeah.
Those things that are there still comply, but you're giving other alternatives to people that don't require ADA accommodations.
Okay.
so we'll be able to address this in the future when we address the ADA over the railroad tracks, that whole thing,
So,
right?
to some,
That's yet another separate thing.
more pennies from hell, different hell, maybe more pennies, I don't know, but yeah.
It's all no.
Maybe nickels and dimes too.
Okay. Thank you.
Hoping early next summer, you know, if we can budget that money for them small areas like that. And then, you know, get started on it maybe in June, to connect them, to them curb lines.
Yeah. This is our busiest street. So dangerous area.
Again, a lot of concern from the public. It was definitely a concern of mine. I know the thoughts are, we didn't put a whole lot of, you know, thought into it, you know, prior to that project being let, but there definitely was thought put into that.
For sure.
So, update on, you know, that Peosta Street, since we're on that subject. West Lane for use that for the residents that are up there and use that street. West Lane was paved today, surface. East Lane will be done tomorrow. Never got a definite on the striping, so I don't have an answer for that one yet, but I'm sure it'll be soon. Considering that old Highway 20 is now done and I'm sure they've got the striping crew like it.
They did a good job, I think.
I think it's
They
worked
worked really quickly.
really fine with the flag cars and stuff.
That's nice.
Be done soon.
Their initial
Short-term inconvenience, but
blocking off all of Royal Oaks at one time.
Can't get out of
It's
it.
just a cone.
Just
It wasn't that bad.
No.
like I said,
Confused at one neighborhood, it was like.
minor inconveniences, but
Yes.
It's a lot of turnarounds and the 19-point turns at the end of the street, so.
Anything else for Dean?
Thanks, Dean.
all I got.
Steve, while you're here.
Yeah, the big thing was the ADA stuff. Dean covered most of that. You know, we continue to work on a couple other projects. We'll be presenting GIS demo or shooting for September. And then continuing on with some of the water projects where, you know, there's many projects within that water project. And so that's really been the main focus of our work the last couple months.
Any questions for Steve? Next would be the mayor's report, and he left me nothing, so.
Oh, sure he did.
Oh, there's something in there.
Not a Halloween day. Oh, sure.
You get to set the Halloween date. Oh.
Oh.
Inquiring minds wanna know if
Halloween is
Halloween.
on Friday, October 31st. It has been Peosta's
Day that we trick or treat.
trick or treat, so I think I would leave it October 31st.
I agree. I would too. What times did we do it last year?
5 to 6:30,
Good.
something like that. I think it was 5 to 6:30.
30 hours.
5:30 to 7:30.
Gives people time to get home, get the kids out.
I believe it's 5:30 to 7:30.
5:30 to 7:30.
I think that works pretty well. People, I like that.
5:30, 7:30?
I think so.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
I think it's-
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Me too. It's dark by then.
Just tell people.
Empower the staff to
We'll let Shonda know she's starting to
communicate.
Let it out.
Are you doing?
Put it out there.
Great again? What date for that?
Knew you were gonna
Yeah,
ask me that. Give me 2 seconds, I'll get it.
Well, I saw the fairgrounds posted there, so it made me think about it.
Probably the same date.
Probably Thursday, the 23rd.
October 22nd, 6 to 7.
Is that Wednesday?
It is I think it is.
The Wednesday.
Yeah, it is Wednesday.
So the fairgrounds is Thursday, so.
Okay, so
Is that gonna interfere with? They go. Wednesday nights?
Oh, like
CCD.
CCD,
Yeah.
I think we'll be fine. I think they can come before or after, I don't know that they still do. We have crossroads here, but we'll just have that somewhere else. When we did it on Thursday, we interfered with an event we have up in
Summertime. I was just curious.
So that's trunk or treat?
Track or treat.
Track or treat.
Track or treat inside.
Wednesday, the 22nd,
What time was that again, Stacy?
6 to 7.
Okay, thanks.
But Frank can do it on the same day, right? First year. All right, we have Heidi here to present for the water sewer presentation. Or George.
Heidi Cool with Northland Securities, here tonight to talk about sewer and water rates. Give the council a little bit of history, of where sewer and water rates have been, how that structure of those rates, have been set. And then talk about those assumptions that have been put together for some future rates. And talk a little bit individually about, the sewer and the water rates and what has happened. And where those numbers are going to kind of come up here. So I did include also in the folder some paper copies of this. It's sometimes a little bit easier to see, or if you're wanting to make any types of notes. You certainly can. This is meant to be in a discussion, so if there's something I do need to clarify, go ahead. Just jump right on in. First, I wanted to just talk a little bit about the sewer and the water rates that are set at the city of Peosta. So it has, like most communities, it has a base rate and a usage rate. And those are, so every time that if you have a setup, you get charged a certain amount, and then you get charged a rate per thousand. There are some subcategories, including the residential rate. So those who are just live in a home within the city of Peosta have a residential rate. And then there are some outside users that are charged 150% of that residential rate. The history of that is that since they are not within the city limits, there are some other costs that are taken throughout the city's regular budget. So that has a higher rate for those outside users. And with the makeup of the city of Peosta, you have some large users in your industry. And so that has a separate set of rates as well for the commercial and industrial users that have a higher usage rate associated with it. And then one other layer is that when you have 20,000 gallons and higher, the minimum bill does increase as well. So the reason that this was kind of put together is to show that those who are using more of the infrastructure will be paying more. So that's where it's kind of set up that way, is that when you have a large portion of industry that is using a lot of water and a lot of usage, that they'll have higher rates that'll help take more of a percentage of the total revenues that are in place. So just taking a look in the last couple of years, saying, okay, does this rate structure that was set about 15 to 20 years ago, does it still make sense for the city of Peosta? And looking at the last couple of years and last 2025 in particular, when we're looking at from a water standpoint, you know, how much revenue comes from the residential section. So the revenue is about 57% from just the residential. From a percentage standpoint, it's about 53% of actual consumption. So pretty close, within about 5% is the amount of revenue, and the amount of consumption is within about 5%. The amount of revenue that comes from commercial industrial is about 31%. And the amount of consumption's 39%. So that's how it's kind of shifted, where you have some higher usage rates. Because if we had them all equalized, you would see that the industry would pay much less. So that's, where we kind of see that. And then you have your outside users, which is about 12%, and about 8.5% of consumption. So that's for water. The numbers are pretty similar for sewer. From a residential standpoint, the revenue is 54% and the consumption's 54%. So right about equal. And then from commercial industrial, you're looking about 34% of revenue and 38% of consumption. Outside users are 11.5% of revenue and 8.5% of consumption. Now, from year to year, this is going to shift, a little bit one way or another, whether it's a high usage year or a low usage year. But what that tells me is that the rate structure that was put in place to have some of those higher end users is essentially, working for itself. It didn't bring up any red flags for me to say, hey, the city has shifted so much that maybe we need to look at adjusting how rates are looked at. So you'll see that the recommendation will be based off of a percentage increase for all users. So we're not looking at shifting, more of the revenue onto a usage side or more on the base side. It's all just going to be a percentage based off of where current rates are today to kind of keep that same structure.
Heidi, when you say that the revenue, that's all the revenue, it's the base rate plus the consumption to get to those percentages of contribution.
Yeah, kind of just looking at the sewer fund as a whole, the water fund as a whole, and looking at each of those ways that the revenues come.
Heidi, was industrial included in commercial?
Yes, they're combined all into the one. So next then, wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm here today. The city is, recently, in the last couple of years, around 2020, did a large wastewater treatment plant where sewer rates were increased, and had some questions from the city on, where we were at from a cash flow standpoint. And the last couple of years, from an inflationary standpoint, that's hit everybody from every from every standpoint. And it also has hit the water and the sewer. Saw that really the last, 24, 25, and even seeing that what was kind of budgeted for 2026, what we're currently in, is that operating expenditures have been outpacing that 2% that has been going on to sewer and water rates. And, before the last 3 years, really the growth that the city has had has been able to catch up with that. But with the really extensive increase in operating expenditures, it's kind of time to take a look at adjusting those rates to keep you caught up within the sewer and the water. The reason being is that you want to be able to have cash available when something unbudgeted comes up, so you're not looking to borrow every single time. And then also the loan that you have outstanding for the wastewater treatment plant has covenants that say you have to keep rates in place in order to maintain that sewer fund. So we're wanting to make sure you stay within those covenants and that we're not dipping into reserves year over year. I know that there was some work done. Dean and Marcy worked extensively at looking at the budgeted numbers and where the water and the sewer expenditures are really going to be going forward. Sometimes budgeted numbers have a little bit of cushion in them, so you're not having to do an amendment every single time. Really kind of dug down and said, hey, where do we think that operating expenditures are going to be in the sewer and the water? So we have a good idea of a benchmark to start for those rate increases. And down back below, if you were following along in these pages, I did have this sheet that showed kind of the breakdown of the users, and then I showed the last 5 years of operating expenditures, where those have been, where those increases have been. But the sewer's looking at about, over the last 5 years, averaging about 55,000 increase, and the water's about 33,000.
That's increase in annual expenditures.
Operating
And
expenditures.
is it our sense that wastewater treatment annual expenditures are stabilized now? Or are we still in a ramp up for the next couple of
Can't
years?
necessarily say wherever stabilized. I mean, everything's mechanical out at the wastewater plant. It's not only the wastewater plant itself, it's the lift stations as well. We have pumps in every one of these lift stations, not only one pump, but the main lift station, for example, that has 4 pumps in it. Last year alone, I think we made repairs on probably 6 pumps. On an average, probably $12,000 on repairs on those pumps. Per pump? Per pump.
And we probably anticipate that same amount of repair.
Yeah.
4 to 6 a year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, until we actually, revise these lift stations, like we did Highway 20, for example, I mean, those repairs are never going to go away.
Right.
We're basically putting Band-Aids on them is what we do. So, and I can't even say that this day and age with the products the way they are, that we'll get the longevity out of the pumps, the new ones that we have out of the old ones. I mean, they're absolutely getting used more. I mean, the wear and tear is excessive on them. So.
It's for future understanding, like, what are we talking in terms of age of some of those pumps?
Of the ones that we have now existing out there?
That using and repairing and thinking about future replacement timing.
That on the asset
Yeah, I mean-
application, we have it all documented what they.
Yeah,
what we are.
back in the files, but I mean, so cap drive main lift was a priority.
Right.
So that one still isn't done. I mean, we have NACC that should be done. I mean, I think that was proposed, probably 3 to 5 years ago to be remodified. Peosta acres then will fall in line after those. I mean, so we're probably looking at, you know, the next 5 years. Those 3 lift stations alone,
Being replaced.
they should be technically,
Right.
you know.
So are those, and I guess maybe this is a question for Heidi, but are these projected rates, costs, are those factored in there? I mean, we're talking about rate setting for the next 5 to whatever years. Are we factoring in the capital improvement?
Those revisions, those capital improvements are not factored in there. I mean, we're basically figuring in the numbers that it's gonna take to maintain what we have existing. The numbers, to include the numbers, I mean, to, you know, do those capital improvements, I mean, Steve, chime in if you think you need to, but I mean, I would guess main lift alone, we're probably looking at 2.5 mil.
Oh, yeah, for that one,
That-
you know, the other ones figure $1 million a station.
Right.
To rebuild them. You know, you have a couple things working against you in Peosta, that's your topography, you know, there isn't a lot of things, you have a lot of lift stations. We also have soils that are not really conducive to being easy on pumps. So like Dean said, you have a lot of moving parts, a lot of mechanical issues that need to be maintained. They don't always need to be replaced. The age of Peosta and the development stages of which you are in right now, you have a bunch of stuff coming, you know, kind of
Right.
in a similar timeframe. You know, Dean and I talked about this a couple of years ago about, you know, can we limp a few apart or a few of these along so that they all don't need to be replaced at the same time? And he and his staff have done a good job, but you're still not gonna escape the fact that 20-year life cycle things that are 25 years old out there.
Right.
And so they're all kind of coming due at the same time.
Right. And not only the pumps, I mean, when we talk about the capital improvements, I mean, we gotta look at the structure themselves. Those concrete structures that are buried underground, they don't last forever. They deteriorate as well. So, and that's why that's why, you know, I refer to them as capital improvement projects. So yeah, we can limp those pumps along to an extent of time, but it comes to a point in time where, like I say, the structure of the wet wells and everything, they start to deteriorate, and then we get a bunch of infiltration on top of it.
I guess I asked that question just because like we're staring at some significant consideration of some significant rate increases. But when we do those future projects, we'd have to bring on debt to do those as well. And then revisit these rates again. It's like one of the things, be nice to avoid doing 3 to 5 year projections and every 2 years having to up it and change it again, but.
Raise the rates. About 2 years ago,
When we took out that,
Yeah.
loan for the sludge.
flood trap about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
And
we raised them by a couple percentage points or something at that point, if I remember.
Yeah, and if I may too, we're also living in extraordinary times where past rules don't hold true, right? I mean, inflation's outpacing, you know, the normal rate increases that you guys, you know, and your council before you built in. 2% a year is not keeping up with what you're giving people for wage increases, let alone energy increases and just those other things out there. So it's kind of a reset time. The other thing I will say to your point, Brian, you know, when we have these other improvements that have to come, and they will come, you're gonna have to take loans for them, but hopefully some loans are falling off so that it's not an additive thing, it's just a marginal increase. But you know, the fact is you're going to have to take other SRF loans, but hopefully you have SRF loans retiring. And Heidi mentioned something before that y'all need to be aware of too, when you're setting these rates, is that the statutory requirements are that you have, I think it's 10 or 20%. You need to charge more from a revenue standpoint than what the debt service is by a little bit. And that's the push, and that's the help with these other things that happen. So the state's wise in as much as they require you to charge more in rates than what it costs to service the debt, because there are these little things that happen. They don't want you to come back to them for a loan every time. They want you to build up a little bit of a reserve.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And we should know for the conversation too, that we're able to take on debt at a pretty advantaged rate because of the SRF. I mean,
right.
way below commercial rates. So that does help.
And then I did want to note in these, specifically in the sewer rates, I did bump up that maintenance up, significantly due to some of these repairs that we know are coming. Now, when it comes to the large infrastructure projects, I don't know how far along we are to project for those loans. But these rates do include revenues to pay for these maintenance and repairs and those increases that we know that are coming there. I will note from a sewer standpoint, there's about 100,000 that is coming off in 2029 and of payments. Other than that, we're kind of looking. We're having that whole 20-year time frame on both of those sewer notes that are outstanding. So we do have a little bit of cushion and a little bit of relief for some new debt. We are a few years out to see kind of where the growth and the number of meters and from a sewer standpoint. The water standpoint, we do know that we have about a $6 million project coming up that is to be funded through SRF. We're looking at doing that as on a 20-year. One of the good things about that is that almost all of the sewer debt, almost all of the water debt is set to be paid off by 2028. So we're looking at trying to kind of fill in the the new payments that is expected with this $6 million project in order so you're kind of minimizing the rate increases for the water. I will say that looking back at these operating expenditures, when I said about 33,000 per year, that wasn't in the projections prior to that. So those rate increases are mainly to catch you up from an operating standpoint and a little bit of a payment up to about 6 million through the SRF program.
So the water rates would cover the loan percentage and make us kosher with the state and their budgeting issues.
On the water, that's another category we touched on too, as far as maintenance on them. I mean, it was last year and the year prior. We did capital improvements on the wells, on both wells, and that was, each well alone was $50,000. So, and with our system, with our alarm system that we have, that's pretty much getting outdated as well. So technology is another thing that we have to look into revising as well. So that again is a big cost. I haven't gotten an estimate on that yet. I've been trying to make a request on that for about 1.5 years now, and still actually got a solid number on that, or an estimated number even. Definitely some big costs out there, and again, I would anticipate on those 2 existing towers that we have in 10 years, we're going to be looking at that pump remodification again, as well as part of the casing of it. So whatever our increase in price is going to be in the next 8 to 10 years on that, we'd possibly look at 25-30% on that, on those costs.
Hey, good news.
Stop using your sewer and stop using your water is life.
I'll tell you some good news. I mean,
I'm sorry.
To be honest, and it is, I work with a lot of cities, Heidi works with a lot of cities. The fact that you're growing and putting demands on your utilities, that's a good thing. I mean, the people that don't have to spend money on sewer water because they're not growing or they're shrinking, that's a big problem. To be honest with you, and I know that it's hard to see from sitting at that side of the table. It's sad to go to a community that doesn't have the things going on that you guys do. And if I had a soapbox, I'd stand up on it right now, but It drives me a little bit crazy. It has been right here when it comes to water. I mean, if a show of hands, who's bought a bottle of water in the last 2 months, right? Yeah, you're sitting with one, right? That bottle of water costs you $15 a gallon. And from a city standpoint, you could get 80 gallons for $1. It's pretty cheap in the United States for what we have for water. $15 a gallon for what you got, Brian, versus what you get at home, even with a rate increase, it's 60 to 80 gallons for $1. It's pretty cheap.
Sold.
I never bathe in this though. I only drink it.
But if you travel outside of our country, it's just weird that we have this mentality that water is free.
Yeah.
And you leave our country, water is not free. Well, you pay a lot for water when you leave North America, really. And my soapbox is I come from a world of I want to have clean water for everybody, right? Clean drinking water, treat wastewater. It's pretty cheap in the grand scheme of things, especially when you travel the world.
Just for the sake of, I want to make sure I understand we're probably in better shape from a long-term debt planning standpoint with water. Because some are falling off and we'll have more debt capacity and we're stretching it. Is that a fair statement or not?
I would say they're both they're both at, I mean, they both have the same headaches from an operating standpoint. You know, it looks like there's a lot of infrastructure. Neither of them are really in a bad condition. I wouldn't say that one is really better than the other.
Infrastructures.
Yeah, I mean, one is we're preparing for infrastructure. And the other is we've gone through the infrastructure and we have some additional expenditures. And we're kind of adjusting for that as well. So, I mean, I look at them, you know, the same, and I guess, you know, and to kind of piggyback on this is that, you know, we said, what's the good news is that you did your sewer treatment plant back in 2020, because the costs of these plants that I am seeing, some have more than doubled. So seeing the headaches of some operating expenditures higher than that were anticipated, well, it's not great and it's not fun to raise rates. These percentage numbers and these amounts of these bills that are going up are nothing compared to those that are not growing. You know, I'm looking at some communities that aren't growing and they're seeing these inflationary things, and, you know, it's right off the bat, you know, we're looking 30-40%, you know, increases in rates. And that's just to keep things going. And it, you know, and you're looking at, you know, non-affluent communities that are aging out. It's difficult. And so while I really do sympathize with rate increases compared to a lot of the things I'm seeing, this is on the lower end. You have some positive things going your way. That you have growth. You've got the major sewer plant done before this inflationary increase, all of the tariffs, all those types of things. So while it's not fun, it could be a heck of a lot worse. And, you know, and I'm seeing that across the state. So the other thing too is I did want to be cognizant of everything costs more. Nobody wants to pay more. So that's where I put basically a 3-year rate increase. We could go ahead and just pull off the Band-Aid and do all of it right now and say, hey, we're done. But I want to be cognizant of everybody's paying more for everything right now. So I put together basically a 3-year step up of rates to get you where we think we might need to be. Knowing that there's more infrastructure and things going on is probably, you know, that conversation is going to need to be happening in 2 to 3 years from now. And probably preliminarily on our, you know, a year, you know, within the next year. So, with that being said, which one do we have up? The sewer?
The sewer.
The sewer. So, if you have a, I took them all out, but it'll say like sewer rate analysis. And at the top, and then it'll be blue across the top. Yeah. I printed off a couple other copies if you want to stay on the. Yep, yeah, the. Perfect. Okay. So, just from an assumption standpoint, we are assuming that the sewer meters and. Do you need a copy too? No, you asked for copies, okay. We're assuming that the sewer meters and the sewer sales continue by 2% each year. And then your operating expenditures after this year go up by 5%. In order to do that, we're looking at increasing rates 10% this year, 5% for fiscal year 26-27, and 5% for fiscal year 27-28. Looking from left to right on this sewer enterprise fund, we are showing basically where the current rate structures are. Then you'll see from 2025, although the projections of that increase in growth, you'll see that that growth is more on the residential side. And we've kept the outside users and the commercial industrial flat for conservative purposes. Down below there, we're looking at operating revenues and expenditures. So in 2020, operating revenues were $430,000 with $256,000 in expenditures, so about $170,000. Down below there is how after that is you do your debt payments. And then when you're doing any type of capital expenditure that is outside of regular operating, that's down below there. And then down at the bottom, you show basically those cash balances. So you'll see basically through these last 5-6 years, there's been a lot of in and outs of money for the loans for all of the wastewater treatment plants and the sludge removals going forward. To kind of take a look at what we've got going forward is after all of your regular operating and expenditures, we're assuming there's an additional $70,000 in annual capital improvements. If those aren't spent, that just builds up the cash fund.
Can I just pause you there?
Yeah.
Based on the discussion we just heard from Dean about lift stations and those things, those numbers of capital reinvestment of things that might have to be replaced or updated seem low.
But also some of that was included in the repair and maintenance numbers that basically have bumped you from 256,000 to for 2026, we're looking at 630,000. And what I have in there, I believe it's bumped to about 75,000 that I have for lift station repair and maintenance in the.
Where do I see that?
That would be just in our regular budget that we've
In
adopted.
the budgeted numbers for operating expenditures, those are within, you see this document here. There is behind here, we have the
Non-adjusted
water revenues. Yeah, water revenues and expenditures and
sewer.
so the sewer ones have jumped up to.
So the 70,000 is gonna be like your additional capital expenditures. We had to
Oh,
purchase
beyond
something
that.
Additional.
Yeah,
Beyond.
it's a plus 70 beyond our run rate.
Yes,
Okay, that makes sense.
so it just gives a little bit of cushion to show, you know, those one times.
That's helpful,
But
thank you.
yes, that repair and maintenance has jumped from about 20,000 to about 75,000 because of some of those new
Yeah.
things so that is included in that big jump. So, you know, the question is, you know, where do rates need to be in order to kind of get you to the point where you're spending about $630,000 this year on operating expenditures in the sewer. And assuming, you know, a 5% increase from there on out. So that's where the 10% increase comes from for this year, 5% and 5%. Then inside of there, I put together basically 3 documents based on the type of user that you know, if you were a commercial, industrial, if you're an outside user or residential user. You go to page 3. You'll see the current rates for those users. So the usage rate is $5.24 for fiscal year 25, and that base rate's $30.64. Based off of the type of user, if you're using 2,000 gallons to 20,000 gallons, that's how much you're paying just for your sewer portion.
We know where our average residential user falls.
Did we pull that up using, assuming, I think my bill was.
Yours is 1,800, but the average bill is about anywhere. The average bill is usually between 3
to 35 is what I was gonna say.
Yeah, 3. But the bulk of the residential users are going to be 5,000 and below.
Okay, so
I don't have any children at home.
yeah, you have 1.
One.
So between 4 and 6, I mean, that's 6,000 users. That's probably our average home.
Yeah, 4,
Like
yeah.
4,
35
just to
5, yeah.
understand. Okay.
So, you know, this 3-year increase is, we have kind of a bigger jump right now. Where, you know, you're looking at, if you have 2,000 gallons, it's about $4.10. Up to 20,000 gallons, we're looking at $13.46. And then we have that 5% increase. So then you'll see on that far right side is really over the next 3 years, the bill's going up by $8.75 for a 2,000 gallon user. $13 if you're 6,000 gallons.
Okay.
Which is low.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That's over the full 3 years.
Just.
I go 13. 13 left. So 24. 3 years.
$24 for the
3
2.
years.
In 3 years or how, for what?
I was, the average is 4, right?
Yeah.
You kind of said.
Yeah, so if you're looking at 4,000 gallons, it's 11, yeah, it's $11.
Total would be like 23 between the 2, between water and sewer.
Yes, between water and sewer. Yeah. We can take a look at the water real quickly too.
We just have a quick conversation about sewer impact, rate impact on our commercial customers, just to make sure we understand.
Yep.
Where would our average, and I know averages lie, so that's a problem, but where would our average and our median commercial user fall? Do we know?
There's a huge range just
Yeah,
because you have
there's
some
probably
really,
giant users
there's giant.
and then a
users.
whole bunch of,
You know, and there's some of the commercial users that actually use less than, you know, than residential too. So it's gonna be a really big range. So that's where the majority, you know, that rate structure has been kind of set to those who pay more or use more will pay more.
And I'll add one thing too, Brian, since you bring that up, because it's a great point. There are low water users, low sewer contributors from a volume standpoint, but they have high strength waste or they have metals or they have other things that cost you a lot more
process.
to deal with as a ratio or as a percentage of the volume that they send down your pipe. So when you get into industrial, especially commercial to a lesser degree, it's very difficult. average and look at it, because they are not a homogeneous group at all. There's a
No.
lot of more variance, whereas with residents, it's more homogeneous.
Should we be, just hypothetically for the future, should we be looking at industrial as a different category than commercial? Because, I think of a commercial restaurant versus what some of our manufacturers are doing. Completely different animals, but they're getting the same base rate and the same use rate.
Well, so actually, once the usage goes up over 20,000, the base rate actually changes.
That's for both sewer and water, that 20,000
Yes.
threshold?
Yes. Yeah, so the
Okay, I
base.
see that.
Yeah,
Yep, I see that.
and so that's where some of that how some of that has been taken. To,
Okay, so we have 15 sort of mega users
Mm.
of sewer and water. Okay,
But those mega users might not necessarily be the ones that are costing us.
right,
They have the
right.
metals and, yeah.
But strictly looking at it from a volume perspective, now we do have some pre-treatment situations out there where somebody's sending waste down that's of particular interest. And we have different agreements potentially with those if we're aware of them, but it's very difficult without having any sort of testing things in place, which also costs money to do. So the base of what you're doing is really is strictly volume. And then you handle high strength or special waste streams on an individual basis. It's very difficult to set up a user fee for them within this rate ordinance.
any more questions on sewer before I jump to water?
I guess the only other question I have is back on the meter growth assumption. We're assuming 2%, which, like, looking at our overall aggregate growth rate, that seems really low from the amount of new houses, new business and stuff that's coming in. The housing study that we did was significantly higher than that in terms of percentage growth. So will these fluctuate with that, or do we have that baked in all the way across?
I have that 2% in there. There's also the sales growth. I will say that these numbers are not, these rate increases are not above and beyond really building the funds. So anything above that 2% is really just going to help build up that cash balance.
Okay.
And that's where I said, hey, let's put this in for 3 years. If we have some new significant numbers, we're gonna be looking at making adjustments now, but wanting to make sure that, that 2% growth does
At least have something in this.
something in there, yes.
Thanks.
And then if we want to put the water up there. You'll see that these water percentage increases are higher. The reason being the percentage is higher is because water rates currently are lower than sewer rates because sewer went through the big wastewater treatment plant upgrade. Those rates are higher. So you'll see some higher percentages, but actually the rate increases are, from a dollar perspective, are about the same. Again, looking at from 2021 until about for 2025, operating expenditures went from 287,000 up to about 453. So we're seeing an increase in that operating expenditures that needing to adjust for rates. And then down below, I have all the debt that's currently paid by the water with a $6 million 20-year loan. So you'll see a lot of those payments have been paid off. The majority, we had one in 2024, the 2013 was just in this last fiscal year. Then we have 3 years left of the 2017 with that 90,000. So a good timing that those debt payments are being paid off. knowing that we have this new project coming on up. Looking at an estimated payment, of $453,000. I do have the first couple of years, a little bit lower payments in order to kind of, let that other debt get paid off. So, we're not having to look at making rates go significantly higher, just because of 2 years.
Is the estimated SRF loan rate of 3.4% the same if we did a 6 million project or a 5 million project?
Yeah, and so,
Okay.
yes, so the interest rate actually adjusts every 3 months now.
Okay.
SRF takes into account, it is called the eval, which is basically a curve that looks at average interest rates and takes 75% of that. So every 3 months, the rate is reset. And so I do have that at 3.4%. Right now, it is at 3.37. So it did have it had a pretty big boost in the last update. So, there is some cushion in this that if, the rate was 3.75, this probably would still work. But, if we're looking at a 5% rate, we may need to make some sort of adjustment.
If the
I
Fed
don't wanna-
adjusts interest rates down, it's gonna take about a year to burn that into the
So
calculation.
the B-val is actually based off of the rate at the 20-year.
Oh,
When the Fed adjusts short-term rates,
okay.
it's not necessarily, they're not necessarily the same thing.
Okay.
So when
It's a
the
long
Fed does lower short-term rates, eventually the longer term rates should go down, but that's not necessarily the case. When the Fed has actually lowered interest rates, we're seeing actually that the interest rate curve is normalized instead of been inverted, where short rates were higher than
Right.
long-term rates for a while. So actually, we've actually seen long-term interest rates go up a little bit and short-term rates go down. So it's not necessarily exactly the same numbers, because that is based off of more of a longer-term rate versus what the Fed is doing. Then again, on the packet, that looks just like the other one on page 3. We'll look at it from a residential standpoint. Again, that 2,000 user, currently their bill's $27.13 with a 10% increase. It's really an increase of $2.72 for first year, $3.59 for the second year, and $5.02 for the third year, for a total of $11.33.
Is our average user in the same place here on water? 4,000 zone? Okay.
Again, I put it over 3 years to kind of
Soften the,
soften it a little bit. But also wanted to be open with, hey, this is where this is really where we need to be. So the council knows that, hey, this is, the one increase isn't one and done. And we'll continue to monitor, inflation and, what happens. And I think, the city's done a really good job of taking a look at that and being very cognizant of the expenditures, and is doing what they can, to keep them down.
How should we be thinking about those years beyond the 3-year window, like 28 and beyond? They're in there at 2. Is that, should we be thinking about that in terms of what the average inflation rate is? 12-year month over month, like we're at 2.4 or 2.5 now. So is that the way we should be thinking about what those, and I know they're subject to change, right? What are interest rates gonna be in 2028?
Right.
Who knows? But I just don't know how to even look at those future years and go, are we sitting here again in 2027 and we're doing another 10, 15?
Right.
Not 2.
So some communities actually raise their rates by the CPI.
Oh, let's see.
Something to take a look at, after that.
Because then it'll index a little bit with what's happening.
Yeah, I know the 2% was, hopefully it was, hey, we're doing something and we're hoping that the growth of the kind of inflates, it takes care of that. But these last few years with the inflation, it just, it just.
Makes sense. Any questions, Grady? Thank you. Thanks for making the trip over here to be here in person. I think
Appreciate
that's
being
very
here.
helpful. Appreciate it.
It's big decision, so I was happy to be here.
Yeah.
I think while we're talking about water and sewer rates, I think Steve gave us a presentation during our work session on how vital this new water tower and the system, the water system as a whole, needs to be updated and looped in. I would be nice if we could get Steve to talk a little bit about what he talked about during our work session again, just.
Sure.
I don't know if anybody's online or public, quick and dirty.
Right, so I'm sitting here staring at these maps, right? You guys projecting growth and we talk about all the good things that you have going for you. So the shorter version that I gave last week, which was a rerun of what I gave in 2022 was, as you guys have grown, it's a good thing. It's putting stress on your systems. You got some things that are just getting old that need to be addressed, let alone to accommodate the growth that you've got. So when we did the study in 2022, we looked at several things: your source, your distribution, your storage, are the main ones. The thing that triggered that we really need to do something was that you don't have enough well capacity to generate enough water for really your current needs, let alone future demands. And while we're looking at that, we look at the distribution. Do you have all the right pipes and the right sizes and the right ages going places? And where do you have vulnerabilities? One big vulnerability is that you really have only one line crossing Highway 20 of any significance. So having a second one there to help provide some redundancy to your taxpaying entities south of town is important. So that was something that probably needs to be addressed. And then looking a little bit more long range with your storage capacity, but also that's what generates most of the pressure in your system. So you got to kind of balance them both. There's definitely we should address the water tower in the future, and the future's now. You're not under any sort of regulatory driver to do that right now because of compliance, but you're really under a growth pressure to do that. You've got some big users that need a lot of water, but more importantly, you're growing in directions that your current system can't provide adequate pressure and flow. And that's why that tower would provide that. You know, Heidi talked about your sewer plant. That's the big thing on the sewer side. So you spend all of this capital and then you grow into it, right? Your increases are much smaller. What you're doing on the water side right now, which what we're talking about, that study is very similar. The tower is a big expense, but that usually has a 50-year, 75-year runway. You know, you spend it, you grow into it. Wells don't quite have that level of runway, but if you do a good enough job and size it properly and invest, you know, the balance between the available funds and how big to make it, you can get some time out of that. If not, then forget it. Like Dean said, we got some work to do on some other wells. But by and large, you're drilling a well, you're putting in a tower, you're putting in a big main. That's a big thing. You're going to grow into that, and that's opening up a good portion of your undeveloped property around here, both in the city limits and stuff that'll likely get annexed in the future. Sets you up. You're in really good shape. I mean, honestly, you get the water project done, you do some of these other things that seem significant and they're not cheap, but compared to a sewer plant, compared to a tower and a well, they're pretty small projects and they don't all come at one time. So the water project's important for a number of different reasons, not only to serve your citizenry, but to set you up for continued growth. And you're on a really strong growth trajectory. And most of the developers that we talk to, they need water. They want to go where there's water. They want to go where there's pump. They want to go where there's sewer. They want to go where there's transportation. You have them all. That's kind of what you're doing. So that's the short version, much longer presentation, Justin. Any questions that you guys had after digesting that from last time?
I guess the one that you didn't touch on was the water pressure north
Of town. Yeah.
where we're at.
Thank you. So when we were looking at talking about where to put the tower, you know, there's likely to be continued housing growth to the north. You're kind of at the limits of where you can provide adequate pressure. If my wife was in tower on a house building on the north end of that, she would bitch to me because she says there's not enough pressure to get the soap out of her hair. Thankfully, I'm losing it. It's not a problem for me. You don't have a problem at all, John. So you're good. It's just what there's to do in the morning. But what are we going to do there? You know, Dean and I have talked about repurposing the booster station that you guys invested in a while ago to buy you some time up there. But there will come a time where we got to figure out how do we continue to get pressure and flow up there. But we've got some alternatives to be able to solve that if that's there. It seems like most of the growth is occurring east on the north side, not necessarily going north, but that pressure is going to come at some point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, no, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Steve. On to administration. Is this,
So we have a public hearing scheduled for tonight. You can have the public hearing if you'd like to regarding whatever Heidi said, or we can just take no action and then set a new one for.
I think we
A
have to leave
future
it
date.
on there because we advertised it, but we should
Right.
just.
You don't have
not
to take
do
any
it,
action.
And then set the resolution for the new one.
We can always have another public hearing if you.
we're gonna take no
I
action
love
on
public
that.
hearings.
We're going to digest some information here.
And do you want to set the next public hearing for the next meeting? Will you have a decision made so that we can publish that
I think
and know what we want to
I
have the
think
ordinance
we
to
talked
read?
about possibly having.
Can we have a special work session with each other to do it? To spend
Some discussion needs to be had, I think, yeah.
because of the size of the numbers. So when would we do that?
Try to do something
Right, before the first
for the
section.
next.
Well, if we set the resolution for the public hearing, it better know what we're publishing out there.
Right.
So that leaves it like next week, basically.
Yeah.
We have any parks meeting next week?
Planning on it. I guess we don't have to.
Tuesday.
We do it on
Next week.
Wednesday.
We could absolutely do it on the 20th.
I'm out, but
Are you guys back?
I'll be here.
Wednesday's the only day I can't do it.
Wednesday's the only day you can't do it. We have a heavy parks agenda, Stacy.
No.
Can we repurpose that time, cancel parks? I mean, we've kind of done our work on parks. We
I
could
mean, next week
repurpose
is
it to
crazy.
Tuesday.
Crazy for me with Peosta days and I have to go home for stuff. So yeah, I mean, I'm
Let's
fine
think
with
about
that.
that
Tuesday's good.
on the 19th.
Somehow, yeah, I think we'll steal a park state. I don't think there was anything that was.
That's fine.
I think it's important that we have Heidi
Yeah,
on phone.
I agree. Are you available that night that we could dial you in?
Definitely by phone, yeah.
6 PM, 5:30?
We do 6.
3:30, did I hear that?
6 to 7.
Damn.
Need to be more than.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I don't
Yeah,
believe
there's-
it. You wanna try at 5:30 then?
I won't be able to.
Let's just do 6 and we'll be efficient.
Okay. I'll set it soon.
6 and have all your questions wrote down.
Thank you. What?
I'm sorry, what?
You pointed at me.
Didn't have all your.
I asked half my questions tonight. I'm.
Cause you write mine down too. That's why.
Alright,
So next Tuesday, 6 to 7.
do we need to? Something with that
Not for the.
after the,
But we could set the,
but we can still set the
Hearing.
public
Set
hearing.
the public
for
hearing.
the 26th, right?
Okay.
Yes, so we'll move on to B. 2025-49 resolution scheduling public hearing and amending ordinance 50.1, 5030 water rates and 50.32 rates on the sewer rate, not rent,
It's actually rent, that's how,
rent.
that
okay.
is how the ordinance is written.
Sewer rent, all right, for August 26th.
I'll make a motion for the resolution to schedule the public hearing, amending ordinance 5030 water rates and 5032 rate of sewer rent for August 26th.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Charlton, I.
John, I.
Jeff, I.
C 2025-50 resolution scheduling public hearing for proposed amendments to the City of Piasta's 2022 urban revitalization plan.
And if you remember, that's the discussion that we had. We asked Doug to move forward. We put some language together for the urban revitalization.
And that is for the 26th as well.
Yes.
I'll make a motion. The resolution schedule a public hearing, for proposed amendments to the city of Peosta 2022 urban revitalization to August 22nd or 26th, sorry.
I'll second. Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
John, I.
Jeff, I.
Carries. 2025-09 ordinance amending title 15 land usage chapter 150 sign permits. Permits must be approved when the CO is issued. Second reading.
Has there been any feedback to the city?
None.
Okay.
Thanks, Heidi. Be safe.
Thank Heidi.
Thank you. No questions, no comments from anybody with this sign.
None.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance amending title 15 land usage chapter 150 sign permit. Second reading.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
John, I.
Jeff, I.
Waive the third if anybody wants.
There's really been no feedback on this, right?
Right. I think I'll make a motion to waive the third reading.
I'll second that motion. Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
John, I.
Jeff, I.
Then I need a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance.
I'll second. Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
John, I.
Jeff, I.
E 25-11 ordinance amending the city of Piasta Code of Ordinances Title 7 Traffic Code Chapter 72 Recreational Vehicles. This is the third reading on the golf cart.
I don't think we have much of a choice with the layout of the city and with the state law.
As much as I would like to empathize with the people that want to use it for golfing purposes, because we can't get there under state law. I don't know what we do to resolve that. So I disappointedly can't enter a proposed amendment because I just don't think there is one that solves that question.
Motion approving it says that, you know, vote yes is to say no.
Correct.
It's approving the ordinance
Right.
as stated, has been approved twice, right? It's basically prohibiting operation
Yep.
inside the city limits, except
Yes.
for the special circumstances of parades and whatnot.
Right.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance, amending the city of Peosta Code of Ordinance, traffic or title 7, traffic code, chapter 72, recreational vehicles.
I'll second. Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
John,
Jeff, I.
I just state that, like, it's probably a future council thing, but if and when we get different east-west things across the city, it's probably a decade from now, but it's probably something that's worth revisiting for a future, if the road structure and the town changes.
I think that's true with any of the ordinances.
For sure. They're
Right.
all dynamic, right?
Right.
They're just in place.
They're a living
For
document.
now, they're living documents.
do we need a motion to adopt?
Please.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
John,
Jeff, I.
2025-12, ordinance amending ordinances number 2017-02, franchise fees with Macocota Valley Electric Company. Second reading.
Did everybody get a chance to look at revisit the July data that we
I
had done
did.
at our July work session?
I did, I've been wishy-washy on the subject the whole time and I feel bad about it. I get the fact that revenue towards the park, right, that's gonna go leaps and bounds. But I feel sometimes, when I look at this, it's disproportionate to the people that, the industrial park, the businesses there. I mean, as far as dollar wise, it's, I get it, it's per what you're using. To the industrial parks, and commercial people that are using said park.
You could say that with roads as well. I mean, when you go in to put a new road, the residents are paying for the maintenance of those roads versus for the industrial park, or the industrial park.
Say that again?
When you do road maintenance, it's the same way, but opposite.
Or maintenance on.
Like when we get ready to do Cap
Like when you're
Drive.
gonna do Cap Drive, who's gonna pay for Cap Drive? Yeah.
The residents.
I mean, it's great having these companies here, for sure. I mean, absolutely. Great having them here, but at the same time, it's kind of, and it's, the park, I mean, this is stuff that could be used for road projects, for
I get it. I mean,
all these other things that.
That's my worry. We're
That
falling
would-
behind in road projects as it is. We're not slowing down on our growth.
Would agree.
We're also, our hand is being forced pretty much to raise our sewer and water rates a lot. I mean, this isn't.
Because
we
of our
weren't-
growth.
We weren't really given an option. These are our numbers, right? I
Yeah.
mean, So,
Because of our growth
Because
Yeah.
of growth.
and at the age of the city.
yes. Which we know we have to take care of, but
You know, I hear from, I mean, I know from our industrial and commercial customers, we have to deal with Cap Drive, and that one is out there. That's a big number. I hear so much from our citizens about wanting, you know, trails, you know, parks. And safe ways to traverse the city. And we know the roads take continual maintenance. I don't know how to get there with the state law change on property tax. We've been very good as a council on keeping the tax levy flat.
100%.
And now we're in a position where we can't even keep up on infrastructure with growth. And when I read things like, if we don't do the franchise fee piece, it's not just putting 300,000 in grants at risk that we've been rewarded. Finish Kelly Oaks Park. Those would be gone. But it's putting at risk like 4 years from now, being able to even do a sidewalk over the next 3-4 years. Unless we really restructure city expenses. which is
city services.
staffing and services and whatnot. So like, to me, Kelly Oaks is the front end of it. But to me, it's about all these other livable amenities that people want. And if we don't raise the tax levy, we don't have a way to get at them. We just coming through community heart and soul, and people want these things. And it's part of how we keep the community like this great place to live, which is what the feel and everything people want. The other fact thing that I keep in my mind is I think moving to 3% from 1% does not put us out of whack with everybody around us. We're somewhere in the middle. It moves us to somewhere in the middle, which means we've been artificially low. And that's good. But if we don't make some of these investments, we're not going to have the Peosta we want in 10 years. So that's my struggle. So I don't want to think about this just as Kelly Oaks. And I know that some of the business owners I talk to are like, prioritize CAP over Kelly Oaks. And I think it's a bigger issue than that. I don't want to be sitting here and assuming reelection 2029 and we haven't finished our sidewalks and we don't have some connected trails. And
But will we have finished Cap Drive?
I think.
I hope so, yes. I mean, and
We've
I,
been talking about Cap Drive for,
well, and I
Your
stressed it in my
councils.
right,
weekly summaries that I'm working on that
Right.
grant. And I've been being tossed back and forth from the state of Iowa.
Sure.
I'm not saying,
eligible.
I'm not saying for lack of effort. I'm
Let's,
just-
let's make the assumption that we can't get a RISE grant and we can't get 50-50 or 80. I think the question is, are we willing as a council to take on the debt necessary to do $9 million Cap Drive? Because in the reasonable future, it can't be another 5 years from now,
It's gonna
right?
be-
No, now I haven't looked at the debt load capacity of the city. I don't think we're at it.
What about just fixing Cap Drive? I know it's not a
Resurfacing?
resurface, a pulverize, resurface, fix it
Let's put a Band-Aid on.
and putting a Band-Aid on it. You're right.
But it's,
But you're saving yourself. It's action and then you're saving yourself time to actually get the funds.
So maybe what we do is,
My concerns would be on doing that. We're putting a lot of effort and a lot of inconvenience to the businesses on CAP to do that.
true,
Everyone.
doesn't have to be done like one leg at a time.
Right, anyway.
Right. But if we go through and pulverize that entire thing, I mean, then we're putting an impact on the traffic and everything that's going through that. So my thoughts would be if we're going to put that burden on those businesses,
Then fix it once.
let's fix it once so that we're not doing it again in 5 to 7 years. With the potential growth going west
Kind of, yeah.
and being more of an impact.
And time value of money, that 8 or 10 million
Right.
now is gonna be 12 to 15.
Right, so it's like
Right.
roughly 9
But it's
plus.
a lot easier to get $1 million now than it is to get 9.
Yes,
I just don't think, I wish Steve was here because I don't think he recommends the pulverization. Would you agree, Dean? And I don't either.
That's just my thoughts.
maybe this is an unfair question, but something we could look at as staff is what is the debt capacity of the city? Where are we at?
Statutorily, we have to be at a certain percentage. I would have to
I
look that
understand,
number
right.
up.
It's like, how close to that are we?
Right, and as we kind of
Because-
discussed before, we've got a couple of bond issuances falling off in the next. Theoretically, if
But
we
those are
compare.
factored in here for the water and sewer infrastructure. Really, those are the main loans, right?
Right.
So we need that debt capacity to continue the sewer and water, is the way I understand it. So to me, this would be new debt. It'd be additional
This would
debt.
be a bond issuance.
Right, and then the public would have to vote for the bond. And right, it's a resident vote for a part that's gonna affect, right, our industrial customers. Which we all understand are 45 to 50% of our tax base. We
It's
understand.
51% of the industrial park, and the chances are, if it had to go
Let's hope it
to
was
a
45.
referendum. If it had to go to a referendum, I mean, you run the risk of having the populace over here saying, why should I pay for that? I never use it.
No, I'm sure we
And we've
would.
got.
That's the case we'd have to make
Right,
to bond for it.
right.
But I'm getting back to John's original question. Are we willing to spend that money and go to bat for that kind of a bond issuance and explain to people why it's in their best interest? To not have their property taxes, we've got a property tax burden that is shared with our industrial base. And we want to keep those businesses here. And we want that to grow. We have land set aside to grow it. I think we have to commit to it, but I don't know how we get there.
I think the big,
big thing is to show that we've got a plan and we don't have a plan.
5% of taxable property excluding.
In good way. We're asking to raise franchise fees and we're asking to raise water and sewer, and we're not
It's because it's essential.
providing them a plan with what we're gonna do with CAP,
This is corporate.
right? We want, I mean, their perspective, we want more, but we're not gonna fix the problems that we have over here. And we don't have,
But is it
we don't have
part
a
of,
plan.
we did our long-term planning and it's still a high priority. That's the front part of the plan. The next part of the plan is how are we gonna fund it? We're continuing to work on that issue. I just think like the worst case scenario for us is we have to come up with $9 million, a $9 million plan if we can't get a RISE grant share. And even if we do, we have to come up with 3.5 or 4, right? Or 4.5. Can't do math.
That's okay.
So I don't know how we get to a plan if we don't know what our debt capacity is and what it would do to our levy. And that remind me, we can levy for
Debt, yes.
debt.
Really, there's no cap on that. Because
Okay, so that's part of how we get there, John. We convince everybody they have to vote for the referendum that they don't want to vote for, and we'd raise their.
well, I want to be very clear too, because I was just telling Marcy, I need to clarify because the state laws have changed. We may not have to have this as a referendum item because it's an essential project.
It is an essential project.
Correct. So if it's a non-essential, like if it was Kelly Oaks Park, sorry, Stacy, it would be a non-essential, it would have to go for a referendum. So therefore, I need to
Well,
be
that's,
very
that
clear,
gives us
right?
a better way to get to a plan.
And like I said, some of the laws have been kind of moving around a little bit, so I need to clarify that.
I guess with that discussion, brings us back to our original, the ordinance amendment. Franchise fees for Coconut Valley. Is there a motion for the second reading?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the ordinance amendment for the second reading, to approve the ordinance amending franchise fee, Mississippi Valley, second reading.
I'll second.
Need any more discussion? Brian, I.
Lexi, no.
Justin and I.
John, no.
Got by.
Motion carries. 2025-13 ordinance amending city code of ordinance, city of Peosta. Peosta electric franchise relating to the franchise fees alliant, second reading. Our motion for second reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance amending the code of ordinances for by modifying provisions of ordinance 2010-01, the city of Peosta electric franchise fees relating to franchise fees alliance, second reading.
Could you repeat that?
It's a mouthful.
I'll second the motion. Brian, I.
Lexi, no.
Justin, I.
John, no.
Jeff, I.
Motion carries. 2025-14 ordinance establishing the franchise fees on energy providers operating in the city of Peosta, Iowa, repeals ordinance 2016-06, Black Hills, second reading.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance establishing franchise fee on energy providers operating city of Peosta, repealing ordinance 2016-06, Black Hills, second reading.
I'll second.
Brian, I.
Lexi, no.
Justin, I.
John, no.
Jeff, I.
Motion carries. Citizen comment? Anybody online?
No. Nope.
Motion. Adjourned.
I will second that.
Brian, I.
Lexi, I.
Justin, I.
It's gonna,
Jeff, I.
Actually, these lawns will be.
So the mayor's gone and I'll just point out the mayor pro tem longest meeting that I've been.
I know.
part of. In 2.5 years I've been here.